So you are email marketing manager at Small.
Yes.
You are going to talk about growth.
I will be talking about developing retention for subscription businesses. So let me share my screen. Bear with me just a moment.
Let's hear it.
Bear with me. I'll share my screen.
Yep. Works.
Perfect. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes, but we can see the presenter view also. Yeah. Oh, not anymore.
Oh.
Now it's good.
Bear with me. I can tell it's been off to a great start, aren't we?
It's all right. Yeah.
Can you see the screen that I would like you to see now?
Yes, we can see. Yeah, we can see.
Perfect. So just onto that first page. So yeah, as I mentioned, I'll be talking about developing retention for subscription businesses. So to get started, just want to take a moment to introduce myself. So I'm Elise, based in Leeds in the UK, and I'm working as email marketing manager over at Small. So a subscription brand, as you might have guessed, that sells cleaning products that are more planet friendly to consumers. And I've been there for about 1.5 years, working closely with the growth team, which is my team, particularly the data insights people, as well as our chief growth officer, alongside marketing UX development teams. And then there to run all of our email marketing. So that's from our brand-led marketing campaigns right through to our triggered automations and transactional emails. So I'll be talking about it in more detail in a moment. But as you might guess, a huge part of my role includes the testing and strategy decisions for how we can improve customer engagement over time. Before that, I was working as a CRM manager, an online learning provider called the Skills Network, for a couple of years, where I oversaw the full customer journey from acquisition through to retention for both B2B and B2C. And there, a lot of my time was primarily focused on marketing automation to streamline operations and sales processes, particularly around that smooth handover from sales team through to the customer success team. And again, you might imagine that involves quite a lot of reviewing the sales funnels, any blockers, any drop-off points, which is all very useful in my role today. Through to Small. So who is Small? Why is my position at the business relevant to this presentation? So as I've already mentioned, Small's a subscription cleaning brand. For those which don't know the company, so we started selling laundry capsules back in 2018. That moved on to dishwash tablets, sprays, and more recently personal care. And primarily we operate with a free trial mechanism. So those which are able to, so people are able to try the product for free before they're then added to an ongoing subscription. For our tech stack, we're using Klaviyo as our ESP, alongside Recharge for our transactional data and ops. And then alongside that, we have data warehouse with the development team who are responsible for kind of making sure that we've got the data that we need. As a subscription business, today our average customer does have multiple subscriptions with us, and this is growing as we kind of look to increase our product suite over time. And obviously you would hope with that, and I hope certainly that as our marketing gets better, you know, our customer number of subscriptions per person gets better as well. Probably more interestingly, we're a business that's looking to sell products that are better for the planet as well as the consumer. So by being really convenient and available at prices that are competitive with big brands in the UK, that's Persil Ariel. And I really love this quote. We've got, we don't need a handful of people doing zero waste perfectly. We need millions of people doing it imperfectly. So a bit of kind of Small's key proposition is that we're looking to sell mass market products that are genuinely effective. So what you generally find in the cleaning space is that companies go down one of two lanes. So they're either great cleaning performance, terrible for the planet, full of chemicals, covered in plastic, or you get kind of pure eco, which is much greener, but not normally very good at cleaning, and it's normally super expensive. So we know to convert the majority, we need to convert the masses to more sustainable products. And to do that, they really need to actually work. So Smol's deliberately chosen to fall somewhere in the middle of those two lanes. The products have to be better for the environment than mainstream alternatives, but they can't compromise on performance. So they're not perfectly eco necessarily. But they're easy, they're delivered to customers' homes as and when they need them, no more, no less, and customers are in control via their portal. And that seems to be working pretty well for us. So we now have a few 100,000 subscribers since we set up, as I said, in 2018. And this has continued to grow kind of year on year by both acquiring new customers and retaining our existing customers. So we're primarily based in the UK. We have started our international expansion over to Germany a couple of years ago. And not only, has all of this been great for business, but by our customers choosing more sustainable products, we're able to have a huge impact on the planet. So been able to save, just a couple of numbers, save over 1,500 tonnes of plastic, 22,000 tonnes of water, and 4,000 tonnes of carbon. So I guess the question is, how are we doing it? So I wanted to touch on kind of what it means for sustainable success at Smol. So the biggest bit is we're looking at the long term, not the short term. And for that, we're kind of looking to build out relationships rather than quick wins. We're looking at the overall lifetime of the customer. So while a lot of what I've talked about today is for the existing customer, it really starts with the customers that we bring in at the beginning. And then of those that we bring in, which ones we really want to keep. So email marketing, or I suppose kind of wider direct to consumer comms such as SMS, push notifications, really essential for businesses to promote, build relationships and drive customer action. So, is email just about sending out kind of emails, texts? No, it's kind of our way to keep in touch with the audience, show them our latest products and guide them down our chosen sales path. So what I would say is, in an effort to accelerate growth, it can be really tempting for business leaders to focus on rapid acquisition, short-term payoff. But for us, kind of our methodology is kind of to achieve sustainable growth. What we really need is a long-term marketing strategy that's really dedicated to meaningful conversations, strong customer loyalty, and high quality revenue. So we really need to understand our audience. We need to give them content they love and then turn them into our biggest fans. So it's about kind of mixing creativity with the number crunching there to make kind of smart decisions to drive our business goals. Up next, so I just wanted to cover why subscription is particularly relevant to this presentation. What I would say is the goals for us are very different to when I've worked historically in e-commerce. So at no point are we kind of looking to continually grow the new subscriber base if we can't retain them. So focusing on keeping them as a customer and not just getting them in for the door. Obviously, if you think for Smol, they're relatively low cost products. So for our performance marketing team to be able to maintain a spend per month on their paid activity, we need to be confident on the quality of customer. So our sales cycles are forecasted on what the user's lifetime revenue is. So it's really key that the way that we're measuring success is based on sustainable metrics in the long term. And then why is that really specific to email? Well, if we know what the customer's doing, what pages they're visiting, what products they've bought, all of that enables us to make personalized experiences that are more relevant to the customer, and that all of that means a better success rate. And then a little more scene setting. So I mentioned I work in the growth team, so I wanted to catch up quickly on growth marketing. So the fundamental principle of this is that's marketing optimization to grow customer loyalty. So for that, we're not just looking for ways to kind of get customers in, build awareness. Instead, we're focusing on the entire funnel. We want to look at small micro optimizations that kind of gradually snowball into bigger learnings, bigger opportunities. And we do that through loads and loads of A/B testing with super rigid methodology, experience testing, as well as the more qualitative data like customer feedback. And a lot of our time as a team is spent generating experiment ideas, measuring if they're working, and making us a really data orientated team, and that goes into the full company as well. All of that means that we need to stay really light on our feet and making sure that we're really reactive and flexible in our learnings. So kind of why email works well with growth marketing is that core bit really is the data insights and informed decisions. So while in the early days of email marketing, there's a lot of focus on bulk emails to large groups in the hope of generating sales. As technologies advance and marketers become more sophisticated, the approach to emails evolved. So today, emails are all about targeting, personalizing messages to individual customers, using data and insights to drive conversion, build relationships. And within that, email really provides businesses with valuable insights and data that can improve our marketing strategies and drive growth. So, by tracking and analyzing the performance of email campaigns, businesses can really get a deeper understanding of customers and make informed decisions about their marketing strategies. So what does that mean? Kind of measuring the success of any of our email, SMS, or CRM campaigns is really important part of optimizing and improving strategy over time. So by tracking those kind of key metrics and analyzing the results of our campaigns, we kind of get those valuable insight, what's working, what's not, make data-driven decisions to improve our results. We can also compare different campaigns and use this information to optimize over time. I wanted to shout out here that we're not focusing on too much on the top funnel metrics. So, yes, we really, really care about opens, clicks, bounce rates. We know that it affects our sender reputation, our deliverability and performance. It also, it's a good indicator of what the customer's interests are. But ultimately for us as a business, we're more interested in their long-term metrics. So what's the conversion rate? What's the quality of the customer? What's their lifetime value? How long are they going to stay with us? How many subscriptions will they take? And just before I move on to the next step, I just wanted to check in to see if anyone had any questions up on anything so far. Nope. Perfect. So I'll move on to the next section, which is on experimentation. So spoken a lot about kind of A/B testing, rigid methodology, but I want to take a moment to step back and say, well, what are we really trying to achieve? For us, that's kind of continuous improvement through small steps. And if we're looking at how to achieve that, really testing is essential when it comes to kind of leveling up a game, refining campaign strategies. And it really allows us to identify which email relevant elements are resonating with our audiences and which elements need improvement. So without email, we could be missing out on really valuable insights that could help us improve our email campaigns, help us increase engagement rates. So at first, I have down as have a hypothesis. So this really acts as our testing compass. So directing your experiments by identifying what problems you're wanting to solve, what behavior you're aiming to influence, and then focusing on defining what meaningful difference is unique to this use case. So I think a good example of this is we previously looked at gift referrals. And we do a lot of referrals with us as a business. It's one of our core acquisition sources. But just a bit of context, so one of our campaigns is we offer our existing customers the chance to be able to refer multiple friends to be able to get a free small bundle that's worth around £20 or something. And then from what we got with that is, well, we found, yes, we've got loads of customers referring their friends, fantastic news. And we've got loads of friends which are kind of accepting the offer. But we had a huge cancellation rate. And then, so a bit of context, my hypothesis in this case was that the referring customer didn't necessarily know that their friend would be starting a subscription when they offered them this free laundry. So when they had the referred friend, when they referred a friend, it wasn't necessarily a friend, necessarily explained. the referring customer didn't know that their friend would be offered, well, they'll be signing up for a subscription. So the friend didn't know either, and it was a bit confusing. So when the friend then gets charged for their subscription after they've received their kind of box of free samples, they're outraged, they cancel. And I think the measure that I wanted to make change, well, the measure in this case was that if I wanted to make a change, so to make the comms clearer, then the retention rate of the referred customers would get better. And the kind of having this hypothesis in the first place enables us to capture the impact, or capture the impact that we expect to get in from that. Second test is kind of less bad, more good. And what I mean by that is making sure that when we're experimenting, the bad tests go to as few people as possible, whereas the kind of the good learnings that we get off the back of that go to the maximum audiences. So, but kind of another anecdote, early this year, we introduced a price increase to our customers. And it's essential, it's something that we needed to do. It's not something that we felt good about. But obviously when you're communicating with customers about that, we're anticipating some cancellation rate. And then, but with that, it's quite a sensitive message, I think, especially in the current climate with, cost of living crisis. So what we want is kind of make sure that, we've got these messages. We don't really want to wind up a load of people if we've not got the messaging quite right. So when we're testing that, we want to kind of limit to as few people as possible, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we're sending to enough people to be confident about the results. Which brings me quite nicely onto my next point, which is statistical significance. Doing this enables us to draw conclusions which are based on solid evidence rather than a bit of randomness. Klaviyo I mentioned is our ESP. They have a calculator for us because we're looking at bottom funnel metrics most of the time, which aren't in there. We find it's not very good. We have one internally, but I think there's a load of them online. What is important for this is just kind of making sure that your audience size is big enough to make sure that you get meaningful results of that. And that's not necessarily a perfect number for that, but if your audience isn't sizable, kind of especially if your typical open rates, click rates, conversion rates are already on the lower side, then it's not necessarily going to be significant. And if it's not, we want to be kind of, if you find out the results aren't significant, you need to test again. I think off the back of that, one of the things that's really important to shout out about is with statistical analysis, while a result might be statistically significant, it's not necessarily practically significant. So if you've got subject line A, which is showing a statistically higher open rate, the practical significance of that might depend on the overall context and goals of the campaign. So if 2% difference in open rates doesn't result in a substantial increase in click-through rates or conversions, then it's not really having a practical impact on the campaign's success. Next up, enable learning. So I think what I mean by this is think about the why. So making sure that you're able to apply learnings to future campaigns so that you can take the learnings going forward. For example, if I'm testing the length of an email, if I look at kind of long versus short, it might be easy to think that a shorter email test performed better because it's easier to digest. Or you've got to consider, is there specific information, is there tone of voice or something that's missing from the shorter version that's kind of captivated the audience instead? So trying to avoid that cognitive bias, that's kind of, we need to retest this against multiple scenarios. So I'd say it is after conducting a test, it's really important to kind of follow up tests to confirm the results. One test isn't always enough to make accurate conclusions about the performance of your campaigns. And then again from that, don't assume that it'll stay the same over time. What we found is that trends of behavior change. Trends of behavior change between companies. So what I found previously working at Small, before working at Small, shorter emails in this example, they worked better But small, interestingly, no matter how many times we tested this, certainly to our existing customer base, that segment, longer perform better. And I was kind of taking from that is perhaps these customers have bought into the company, they know the company well, and they want the brand, and they're happy to kind of sit through that and find out more about it. And what we found, not only we've seen better click rates, we're also seeing better kind of conversion rates on the other side of that. Which kind of brings me on again to kind of test everything. So be prepared to second guess what you think you know. So a really good example of this over at Small is abandoned carts. So we used to offer our contacts discounts on their abandoned carts. So we were testing, or we had 25% off 2 main packs. And that was kind of it was working okay for us. We thought, well, you know, I wonder if we can make this better. So what if we introduce 40% off 1 pack instead, after they got the free trial, this is. And so, let me back up a little bit. So customers get their free trial, and then they would get 25% off their next 2 packs, or 40% off their next main pack, so the one where they're actually paying for it. And kind of weirdly enough, we weren't really seeing much of a difference. And what we wanted to do was then test it in against an email with no discount. So we're just going, hey, you forgot this in your basket, do you want to go buy it? And what we've actually found, which was kind of surprised us a lot, was that this performed a lot better than emails with a discount. And, you know, our conclusion was really that if customers aren't prepared to pay £1 for a free trial, why would they be bothered about their main pack purchase? So while it seems almost counterintuitive that customers would just want the discount, I think it's just kind of being prepared to give anything a shot. Up next, kind of going to talk about short and long-term goals. So what I mean here is that, you know, short-term wins are really important, and we spoke about making these micro tests so we can kind of gradually improve over time. But really, they're not the ultimate objective. So I think we need to keep this at the back of our mind when we're creating any email experiment. So really, for example, we never really want to implement tests that capitalize on cheap tricks. So you've got, you know, you see it all the time, you get subject lines which use RE or forward in the subject line to give the impression of an ongoing personal email exchange. And what I think I mean to say here is that these spammy stunts really, will they result in a boost in open rates? Yeah, absolutely. You know, you'll see winning results with that, probably for certain, if you can get through, you know, any deliverability bits. But that kind of bump in performance, it's not really sustainable or good business. So silly games like that are going to deliver the spikes in unsubscribes, spam complaints, negative customer sentiment. And that negative feeling doesn't drive long-term growth, and it affects the relationship that you're trying to cultivate with your audience, which really should be the ultimate objective, especially for subscription businesses. As I say, where we're so kind of focused on what their lifetime revenue is with us. So when we're talking about testing, we should kind of only test the campaigns which are going to deliver business benefits from an increased response rate. You know, don't focus your energy on the campaigns, or no, do focus your energy on the campaigns that are going to drive your performance to make meaningful actions that push them through the customer life cycle, not something in the short term. And I know I've said test everything. I really mean test everything with a bit of reason. Holdout testing. So as a marketer, I mean, I've spent hours and hours and hours of my life kind of trying to create the ideal campaigns and customer journeys for customers. And with that, you know, you keep a constant eye on engagement, conversion, revenue, and kind of looking to test all those to optimize performance. But when they've got so many campaigns, competing messages, how do you distinguish the impact of a campaign from all your other marketing touch points? So, of course, you want to think of all our marketing activity as influencing engagements, buying decisions. But how do we know whether customers would have converted regardless of whether or not they saw your messages? And we also know that by sending an email, we will cause, as a subscription business, some people to cancel. So when we send an email, some people are going to go, oh yeah, I've got that subscription with Small, which I pay for every month, and no, I don't want to pay, so I'll cancel right now. I guess the question is, with this, have we caused that by sending an email, or have we just brought forward an action by a few days? And for subscriptions, we know that customers are cancelling their starting subscriptions, they're reactivating all the time. So what we need to know is, we need a way to know if our activity has been positive or negative. And by running holdout testing, we can kind of slice and dice the results by choosing our desired goal metric and time period. So we've not, in Klaviyo, we've not found a great way to understand this using the platform, which means that as a result, we work really close, and I say we, I mean me, work really close with our data insights team to measure this. So, for example, we've recently tried adding some additional emails into our welcome onboarding flow and making sure that we have kind of a bench weight pathway for customers that haven't received the additional emails is really key for that. So what I can see in Klaviyo is that those additional emails have a great engagement rate, which makes me think, customers love them. But I guess in a way, do I care? In actual fact, yes, they're clicking. Yes, they are buying additional subscriptions. Wonderful. But what if it increases cancellations compared to if they hadn't received? You need to be really clear exactly on what the change is. And then we can take our kind of KPIs, look at customer behavior and go, well, if we really care about retention, and that was the intent, that was why we added the emails into the flow in the first place, have they helped? Does it increase cancellation? Potentially, but, maybe it improves the customer quality of those who stay. By adding a kind of holdout test across the campaigns, it means that we can really we can really understand the impact and double down on the revenue driving activities. Another really good example of this is, so I've spoken about win-back campaigns, but we not so recently, not so long ago, decided to try and add SMS into our win-back campaigns. And just kind of a bit of context, our win-back incentive at the moment is 50% off 3 packs. And we added that SMS into, and we found that yes, it improved click rate. Yes, more people were engaging with the offer early on. And that's great. And on the face of it, wonderful. But what we saw from that is the incremental additional customers weren't really worth the cost of the text that we were spending for the reactivated lifetime revenue. And without all that whole back testing, we wouldn't have been able to run the marginal cost analysis for it. On to segmentation and personalization. So, and I think most people on the call will be kind of aware of this, but segmentation involves kind of splitting out your email list into smaller groups, kind of generally based on common characteristics such as demographics, interests, purchase history. And that kind of personalization really involves using that information to tailor your email messages to each subscriber. So to get started with that in email marketing, you need to collect data on the subscribers and use this information to create targeted segments. And once you've got that, you can use all that to personalize your email messages and make them more relevant to each recipient. So when done correctly, it should lead to increased engagement. So it'll have higher open rates, click rates, and this is because they're relevant, they're targeted to the person, and it makes them more appealing and engaging. So you have better conversion rates as they address the specific needs and interests of each subscriber, and this can help you increase sales and drive growth. Increase customer relationships, as we're talking about the things that they want to hear from us, and keeps them engaged with the brand. And off all the back of that, we should see, increase ROI as well, as we kind of, by targeting, we get more effective and we get better results off the back. But of course, all of this is underpinned by data down in green. So example with Winback, so we started when I mentioned that the Winback offer is 50% off, 3 packs. We started with the hypothesis that offering a discount to cancel customers will improve uptake by reactivating lapsed subscribers. And we tested that across all of our kind of cancelled data segments. which potentially a little bit of a risky move. But by sending out so many people, we're able to gather so much information. So we slice and dice that into segments. We've got customers that cancelled in their free trial, so they'd never paid for a main back with Small. We've got customers who had cancelled once they'd, paid a certain amount, customers that had cancelled and then, but had a certain amount of subscriptions beforehand. And what we're looking to do is kind of look at the retention rate, look at the number of subscriptions per customers that they have. And what we identified kind of through that segmentation is that there are some pretty crummy customers from a kind of CPA angle. So it doesn't really make sense to offer them discounts to come back, or certainly not at the level that we were offering. And we were also able to see kind of on that personalization side, we were able to see when was the best time to send those comms post cancellation by the uptake rates, kind of per lapse window of time. So if a customer had left us, 30 days ago versus a customer that left us 2 years ago, is there a difference in reactivation rate? Yeah, of course there is. And we were able to identify the best spot for when to send those emails. And then I wanted to talk about kind of called this less pushy salesman, more helpful assistant. So I think everyone has an idea in their head of kind of who a pushy salesman is. They're pushy, they're aggressive. And I think most salespeople these days know that that doesn't work. With that said, the problem is most people don't realize they're being pushy in the first place. And I think this goes for our email marketing as well. So in a world where we're looking to squeeze out the lifetime revenue per person, and certainly that's one of my key, goals, it'll be really, really easy to focus on upsell, upsell, upsell. But as we've already established, what we're wanting to do is build out relationships with them. If we keep an eye on broader success metrics like retention, we know that consistent promotions risk damaging that. Then obviously it's a subscription business, so it'd be really easy to prompt customers to reduce their cadences, to bring their orders forward. If we've got more orders in a shorter period of time, that means more revenue, which no. So customer feedback shows us it's actually a really frustrating experience for customers that end up with too much of a product that they didn't need to pay for, and they'll lose faith in the value of subscriptions and cadences. So it's bad for the customer and it's bad for the brand as well. But of course, we genuinely have a lot of faith that our products would help our customers with their goals. So whether that's choosing more planet-friendly products or having an easier life by convenience of having letterbox deliveries without needing to go to the supermarket. So what do? We look at the data. For example, we know that customers are more likely to buy products, or we know which customers are more likely to buy other products depending on their purchase history. So you know how often they're getting their orders depending on when they're actively moving their order dates. So why aren't we using this data? And I think a lot of that's common sense. So if customers purchasing laundry capsules, you might expect them to be in the market for laundry fabric conditioner. But some of it takes a bit more work. So if we think a customer's, maybe from us, they're buying bio laundry capsules, then we should expect them that they might like to take fragrance-free laundry capsules. So when we launched our fragrance-free, we certainly tried it. And the uptake rate was amazing, but the retention rate was absolutely rubbish. So I think that kind of makes sense, in a way, looking back. So customers have different motivations for buying fragrance-free. Well, it sounds like really obvious, but it's scentless. A lot of people think they like the idea of that, but when it comes to the reality, people want that fresh laundry smell. So the people that are buying fragrance-free on the hand are actually doing it for skin conditions normally. So I think it's just, we can go out and sell it to everyone and can push a product that people don't actually need, but is that right? Not really, no. And finally, I think that also means it's kind of making sure that you're talking about the benefits of the products in email. So certainly for us, we're a value-driven organization, so a lot of the people that we work with have a lot of real love for the products and what we do. It kind of know the ins and outs of the innovation team and why they've been working on things. And it's really, really easy to discuss what the product does and what the functionality is that it provides. But, you know, what's more importantly is, you know, how does it help the customer? So does the product help them reduce plastic? Does it help them save time, decrease costs, decrease stress? They just love the home aesthetic. And I think by being kind of more helpful as system, we should be focusing on that value. But of course, making sure to test. And finally, just to kind of focus on automation. So I'm a big fan of automation. And there's loads and loads of reasons why I think it's great. But I think the two reasons that stand out for that is it allows marketers to send emails all the time to all their customers quite quickly and efficiently. So one of the significant benefits of marketing automation is that it kind of works on its own. Once you've set it up, you can choose certain criteria to trigger the workflows that run automatically. But probably more importantly, segmenting an audience allows us to send more relevant comms to the customer that's based on their interest, their behavior, their demographic information. And it can help us deliver a lot more relevant and personalized content to our subscribers. Whereas on the campaigns, when we send campaigns, they're relevant. Well, they're sent when it's convenient to us based on our marketing agenda. So I'm not saying, you know, there's no place for campaigns. Yes, of course there is. You know, Small's a value motivated business. So when customers choose to buy from us, it's because they're, you know, normally because we're helping them achieve a goal to minimize their impact on the environment. So for example, a lot of our upcoming New Year activity is heavily campaign based, and it's focusing on, or will be focusing on, the impact that our customers had in 2023. So how much plastic have they saved? How much carbon have they saved? How could they reduce water by choosing concentrated products? And when we've done that in previous years, it's been really successful for us. But we should be prioritizing the customer's needs above all of those emails. So if we take abandoned carts, we know there's a specific product on their mind. So why wouldn't we follow up at a time that we know it's convenient for the customer? And then, yeah, just to take a moment to sum it up. So I guess the key points from all of the last kind of half an hour, 40 minutes or so that I've been talking: make sure that you're making data-driven decisions, keep it personal to the customer, and then be ready to change. So be ready to take your learnings and move them on into something else. And that's it from me. So yeah, thanks for your time. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Elise.
You have questions also. Erkki will ask them.
Yeah. Don't rush into things, Tanel. Very impressive. I have a personal question. So you started from somewhere. You didn't have that much at first, and now you are improving probably regularly, learning from the results. Can you tell me how much more of, I don't know, sales, less unsubscribes, more revenue percentage-wise are you generating thanks to all this effort that you have done?
So I can't be too specific on the numbers, otherwise I'm sure our CEO would have a frown. But I can say that our number of subscriptions per customer has nearly doubled in the past year and a half that I've been with the business.
Impressive.
So while that comes hand in hand with having new products to kind of a broader suite of products to promote to customers, having that drive on kind of, well, I suppose that, yeah, drive on increasing upsell, which I've spent a lot of time talking about, but as well as that kind of really focusing on the retention. A lot of before I joined the business, and this was a deliberate choice, but we were kind of not sending emails with the fear of causing cancellations. And what we've really done is kind of changed the shift in mentality that yes, we can be sending emails, but the pros should outweigh the cons of it. So no, we don't want to cause kind of cancellations. But if we're getting enough additional subscriptions per customer, for example, or by sending that email, we understand that that makes the lifetime revenue better, then yes, we will send it anyway. Yeah, as I say, we kind of roughly doubled, which is very encouraging.
Yes, of course. There are some questions from the audience also. What will be your strategy for Black Friday and Cyber Monday? Will you be viewing it as a customer acquisition opportunity by offering big discounts, or will you be focusing on capitalizing on the existing customers, or maybe a combination?
So as a value-led organization, we purposefully, and I say value, I mean environment focus, we purposefully take a step away from Black Friday. We're generally not looking, because we want customers to get products which arrive to them when they need it, and not because we want them to buy extra money from us. Of course, we do want them to buy extra money from us, not buy products, which gives us more money. But we don't want to do it in a way that's, you know, negatively impacting the environment by causing additional consumption, or at the same time by pushing them to buy products that they don't want because it's not relevant to them. So our strategy is kind of to keep away from it. In previous years, we've spoken about kind of Green Friday, on kind of ways that we can reduce our impact on the planet. We've also looked at, like, for example, in that time, Small has a scheme called Donate a Wash, where when customers have laundry subscriptions with us, for example, at the same time they can donate a certain amount to charity, and you know that's donated. And what we would be doing is more pushing customers towards that rather than. But for us, yeah, Black Friday is kind of, it's neither existing nor neither existing nor new customers, because we choose to not be involved in it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How often do you send purely value providing campaigns without promos?
Depends a little bit on what's going on in the agenda. We've had through the last year, and it's been a tricky one to balance this, a lot of new product comms launches. And then a lot of things where we've been asking the development team for things which were, you know, for example, discount led or something that we need their support with. And when it all comes into place, it's kind of go, well, where do we fit this? Because there's a balance between, you know, some of it's automation, that's going out always, and we generally, as I say, we want to prioritize that above the campaign stuff. But then when we've got promotions that are kind of sometimes are relevant to a specific time. So for example, we're making some changes to our packaging, and as a result, we're changing the product offering. But you know, a new product launch comes at a specific time of the year, right? You can't necessarily, you could move it, but we choose not to move it. So yes, we send out kind of value providing campaigns. Generally, they're part of our automations, which we do prioritize above the other bits. They're value bits which are relevant to this customer stage in their life cycle. So, you know, is that kind of, how do they get more out of Small, or how do they use their dishwashing tablets to clean different things? But that's, you know, if customers are learning more about dishwashing tablets, they're probably early on in the customer journey. At the same time, we have, you know, for example, Halloween's coming up, and we've been very heavy-handed on our kind of promotional activity the last couple of months with our product launches. So we're wanting to kind of weave in some content things. We try to keep it kind of roughly at least 25% of our content being kind of content-y based, whether that's blogs, whether that's videos, how-to guides. But yeah, it's just kind of need to work out depending on what else is going on in the comms plan.
Okay. And the last one, do you use all image emails, or do you do a combo of images and texts?
I suppose my question, when you mean all image emails that you took, is the
Banner?
of Philippe, is that talking about using kind of text in images? if that makes sense, because what I would say, we've been focusing a lot on accessibility and making sure that emails can be read by people using screen readers, partly because we think it's generally better, brings us better performance, but it's cause driven, so that it's, you know, everyone's able to kind of be involved with small and understand our emails and making sure that they're really relevant. And it doesn't really matter if they're using a screen reader as to whether they can see it. So we always use some element of text. How much text to image is a bit kind of dependent on what it's for. We found in some cases that, you know, not fully plain text from a branding point, we don't do that. Not that other people shouldn't, but that's not where we've decided to go. But kind of using like all text messages, it depends what it's for. A lot of our feedback surveys and so on are all text, but generally we use a bit of images, but not where it's essential to the user to understand what the email's about.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Really responsible, really awesome presentation. Thank you for your talk, Elise.
No, thank you for your time.